All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Agent Experience, where we tell the stories behind the agents. We have a very special guest today, a new agent to EXP, but not a new agent to the industry, Mr. Blake Chester. So, a little bit about Blake, originally from Austin, Texas. Now he's in the San Antonio area, working real estate in San Antonio. But as you can tell, I had to bring out my special maroon shirt. He's got the maroon rocking today too. He is a graduate of Texas A&M University. Been in the real estate game for about a year and a half, and he tells us his favorite food is steak. Who you can't go wrong with a good steak, right? So big Aggie guy, graduate from Texas A&M with a degree, bachelor's degree in finance and real estate. So Blake, what's going on, man? Thank you for joining us on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, Alan.
Of course, man. We're excited to have you. So show everyone your shirt. I know you have the A&M shirt rocking today. You
Oh
know it,
yeah.
man. You gotta rock it. Gotta rock it. Oh, the ring. Oh man, talk about a conversation starter. So a little bit of backstory. My dad graduated from A&M. My uncle, my aunt, my cousin. So I come from a big family of Aggies. And Blake actually met my dad and my brother for the very first time. And right, Blake, my dad noticed your ring immediately. And right away,
Oh
they
yeah.
were best friends. So that ring opens doors. So very cool, man. Well, glad to have you on the show today. And we just have a couple questions, man, just to get people acquainted with you and learn a little bit more about you and your backstory. So let's go ahead and jump on in. Sound good?
Absolutely.
All right, man. Cool. So, with you being in the business about a year and a half, still fairly new to the industry, but man, you have a lot of experience for being, so fresh to the real estate industry. But what's one piece of advice that you wish you had received when you first started in real estate?
Uh, you know, I thought about this for a little bit, and I think the that this industry is like a roller coaster. The highs are really high, but the lows can be really low, right? So going into it, didn't necessarily understand or know any of that. So being able to fight through the lows has been one of the hardest things so far. Um, And so, I kind of just wish I was told it beforehand, like, hey, things are going to get really low, but it's okay. Like, you just got to keep on going, you know?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people romanticize real estate.
Hmm.
We see it on TV, we see it on social media, we see it on Netflix, and everything looks glamorous with people driving Porsches and G wagons and showing $1 million properties, and sometimes we are lucky enough to have cool experiences like that, but we also have some rough times, and sometimes those rough times last a little while, and we got to get out of those bad times and get back on track, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, just the fact that you're able to realize that and you've been through those ups and downs, right? So what we do know is what goes up must come down, but then when you're down, there's only one way you can go, and that's back up.
Absolutely.
And it makes the highs even better, right? When you have those good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So cool, cool. Awesome. I love it, man. So speaking of the highs and lows, right? Let's talk about a high. Can you share a memorable success story where you helped a client achieve their dream? And how did that experience impact you personally and professionally?
I haven't necessarily worked with too many buyers. So I don't know if achieved their dream is the best case for this, but there was a situation where there was an older couple who had a house up in Timberwood Park, and sadly, the husband had a stroke, and was immediately moved to the hospital and to long-term care. And there was a lot of bills piling up, and they were about to be sent to collections, I believe, and the wife was freaking out, didn't know what to do. Um, and so they needed to be able to get a cash offer, but at at a reasonable amount. As I don't know how familiar y'all are, but Timberwood Park is a nicer area here in San Antonio. So we were able to find an investor to come in and be able to close within a week. And doing that was totally, kind of the wife felt like everything was kind of closing in on her. And because we were able to step in and find somebody to give a reasonable offer in that short of a time, I felt like, we're actually really able to help these people out, right? It's not just a situation where you're looking at a dollar sign, but you're actually, taking a family situation and a situation that, you could be in one day. So looking back on that, I was very grateful that I am in a position to where, yes, not only is, the money nice and everything, but you're also like doing a good deed for somebody.
Absolutely, dude. That's a fantastic story. And really, that's what it's all about. It's not always about top dollar. It's not always about you know making a lot of money. It's not always. Sometimes it's just about solving those problems. Getting over those hurdles. And for us as professionals to be able to help people do that, that's a huge honor to be able to help someone with something like that. So that's awesome. So Blake, for those of for those watching, I know it, but maybe they don't know it. I know you have a tremendous background in the investment side of real estate. So,
Mhm.
I know you're very well versed in, helping people if they need a quick cash offer, if there's a distressed property, if you have someone that needs to get out from under something really quickly. So tell us a little bit about, your experience in that. How did you like it? Now that you're kind of doing both, you're able to help people. Tell us a little bit about your background in the on the investment side of real estate, which is an awesome side of real estate.
Yeah, so a college buddy of mine, his father was a manager here at a company in town that specializes in investment properties. So, I went ahead and joined them right out the gate. I thought, you kind of have to learn how to work with everybody and learn how to work any type of deal. So I felt like while I wasn't necessarily doing what agents were doing, I was learning the same things that they are learning, right? But they're only focused on one aspect of things where I had to be focused on all 10 aspects of things. So, it felt like a lot of work, but it also felt like, that work was giving back, right? Opening a lot of doors for myself. While what I was doing was very simple, the doors that it opened, were very plentiful. And so, I think that while I did enjoy my time there, taking this next step forward with you is something that's very important to my career. And so, I'm just, very grateful to be in the position that I am right now.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. So, speaking of, everything that you learned, because you have learned a lot. You've learned a lot in your short time here in the business, and you have a long, plentiful career ahead of you, which is exciting. But, what we talk about real estate as the opportunity to own, right? So I want to ask you a little bit about what that means to you. What does it mean to you to be an owner of something? Whether you own your home, we own our brokerage, we're all shareholders in EXP, which is amazing. It's an amazing feeling. You own your vehicle, you're in charge of your schedule, whatever it is that you own. What does it mean to you to be an owner of something?
I think it's why you're an owner of it. For me, it's the earning part, right? And so, growing up, you're gifted things and things are given to you. You never actually necessarily work for something that you own, right? And so, luckily I was able to purchase a car last year and I didn't realize until I did it, but that was kind of, one of the first things that I really own myself, right? And so I think what it is though is, well, what did you do to be able to own that, right? You earned it, you worked for it. And so I think that feeling is kind of what powers me to want to own more. And then kind of going into the EXP side of things, when you're working in the real estate industry, it's a commission. And so that means that you don't really necessarily build off of anything because you do one deal and it's on to the next. Completely different sellers, completely different buyers, all new. But one thing that EXP does is because it does make you an owner, you are able to build something. You're not necessarily doing anything more than other people are. You're really just doing the same thing. But EXP does give you that opportunity to be able to kind of own your career, I guess is maybe a better way of
Yeah.
putting that.
I love that, man. I love that. And yeah, that it's that feeling of accomplishment. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That you got to that level. You were able to purchase that vehicle. You were able to purchase that piece of real estate, and you know as well as anybody, you take care of what you own. You take care of what you've worked for, so with us being agent owners, we want to take care of our company that we own together. We want to spread the good word. We want to be a good representation and a good steward of it, right? So I love that you say that the power of that feeling of satisfaction of earning it. I love that, man. Awesome. Awesome. Cool, cool. So, we talk about the feeling that you get when you own something, but with you coming straight out of college, if y'all don't know, Blake is a young guy. He's a hungry business guy. He's business minded. Man, I wish I had the ideas in my mind when I was his age, that he has now. He's a young guy. He's got a long career ahead of him. But what inspired you to get into real estate? I know you talked about a friend of yours, getting you the opportunity. But coming out with a finance degree from Texas A&M, what was the catalyst to get you started straight in real estate right out of college?
Well, I think, like you said, coming from a finance background, I jumped right into investment properties, right? And, looking at the return on investment that it can create if done correctly, can't really be beat. And so, I've also always been more of a hands-on person myself. I think if I was, in a cubicle from 9 to 5, I'd go a little stir crazy. Um, and so I think, the combination of those two things and then growing up seeing people in real estate, the financial freedom that they had, and the flexibility that they had to be with their families. I know not everybody gets that opportunity, but I did think that, I put myself in that position leading up to that to maybe give myself a chance. And so I think, just the combination of all those things, it was kind of a no-brainer to go into real estate.
That's awesome, man. I love that. And we meet a lot of people, especially going through real estate classes. Real estate for most people, it's their second, third, fourth, fifth career. They don't really look to real estate straight from high school or straight from college. Sometimes they kind of stumble upon it. But you got a huge head start and got in the game early, and you're learning a ton, and you're already crushing it out there, man. So I'm excited for your future, and can't wait to see what you do here coming up. It's going to be exciting. Going to be exciting to see. So cool. So we want to kind of let things up here a little bit. We want to end on a lighter note. So, with that being said, if you could have dinner with any person of influence, whether they're alive or whether they're not with us anymore, who would it be and why?
That's a deep question right there. I would have to say Muhammad Ali. That
Oh,
would be
man,
that
that's
would
a
be
great
my
answer.
dinner. Now, I think I have a different why than a lot of
Okay.
people do. The Rumble in the Jungle is my favorite fight of all time, right? And the one question I want to ask him is, when did he decide that he was going to do the rope a dope method?
Oh, man.
because his team had no clue. So was it a week before the fight, right?
Wow.
Was it the morning of the fight, or did he just get in the ring and was like, "Oh man," you know?
That is
So
too cool.
that'd probably be who I'd have to go with.
That's awesome, man. That's a great perspective. And a lot of people would want to just like you said, they'd want to ask some different questions, but you have a very direct, like,
Uh,
what was going through your mind on that in that exact moment. That is super cool.
And
That
now,
is super.
to be fair, um, when it comes to Muhammad Ali, he stood for what he believed in, right? And he didn't back down from that. And I think that we see a lot of people that are influenced by power and popularity, um, that their morals are kind of wishy-washy, right? And they go back and forth. And that's something that I look up to people in, is that if they were able to stick to their core values, and I think Muhammad Ali is a great example of that.
That's awesome, man. That's a fantastic example. A fantastic answer. Great. That would be a fantastic dinner, man. I wish I could just be a fly on the wall for that dinner. So very cool. Well, Blake, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us here on the Agent Experience. And let people know, how can they contact you? Are you on social media? Can they find you on Facebook? How can people get in touch with you if they want to get some more information from you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm pretty much on every social
Oh, he froze up a little bit on us. He'll come back in just a sec.
media there is. So I build a school. So, but yeah, I think if you look up Lake Chester on Facebook, you should see my profile picture, one of the top guys. And so, feel free. I'm always on my phone. A lot of real estate business gets done on our phone. And so, please reach out and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And,
Okay, cool.
once again, Alan, thank you for everything that you've done, man. You've been great in everything, every aspect. And so just thank you for letting me on.
Hey, man, it's our pleasure to have you. I'll be sure to put your contact information in the comments. So, Blake, thanks again for taking time. And thank y'all for tuning in to the Agent Experience. We'll see y'all in the next episode. Y'all take care.